कोविड-19 पैंडेमिक चला चीन से आ गया पूरे संसार के अंदर, हवाओं की स्पीड से ज़्यादा और इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की स्पीड से ज़्यादा पूरी दुनिया के अंदर कब आ गया किसी को मालूम भी ना पड़ा और आ गया। भोपाल में हिंदुस्तान में घुसा, मध्य प्रदेश में घुसा, भोपाल में आया। ऐसा दुनिया का कोई कोना नहीं बचा जहाँ पर ये वायरस उससे ज़्यादा स्पीड से it reached to the whole world, where WHO had to declare that yes, it is a pandemic. It originated from China. The topic given to me is COVID-19 challenges. What are the challenges at the time during the management, or what are the challenges in future if it comes to again? I can talk about Bhopal initially to start with. The bigger challenge was how to treat, how to make a center where COVID-19 was to be kept. For the governments, it was again a challenge because two things were together at the same time. One, that it was a total lockdown. There was no movement on the roads, there was no movement in the industries, there was no work being going on in the whole country. It was an announcement made for another 3 months that there will be absolutely zero movement. At the same time, it was one of the world's largest psychiatric mass emergency of the world, where every human being was afraid what next. Where every human being was afraid, which includes the doctors, nurses, paramedical staff, ward boys, sweepers, liftmen, to accounts, to everybody in this world. Such an emergency declared where there was no movement, and a psychiatric emergency, what next? And at that time, Madhya Pradesh Sarkar, Chief Minister of the state, Honorable Chief Minister Shri Shivraj Singh Chauhan took a decision that there will be a dedicated COVID-19 center in Bhopal to treat the patients of Bhopal at that time, the region of Bhopal, to start with. Because of the Hamidiya hospital being into the heart of the city, and the protocol used to say that there has to be a proper distancing, the call was taken at a distant place, Chirayu Hospital, sitting in one of the corners, that Chirayu Hospital Medical College was made a dedicated COVID-19 center. The next question was how to collect, how to keep them, who will pay for them. Again, the government took a call that every last penny will be paid by the government to the COVID-19 dedicated center, wherein people will not have to pay a single pie, because they'll be coming into all the emergencies with empty pockets with them at that time, because banks were not functioning, nothing was functioning at that moment of time. So the first was how to prepare the whole hospital for treating a dedicated COVID-19. So the whole hospital was vacated, the admitted patients were sent back home, or the non-COVID patients were shifted to the government hospitals, and the whole hospital got vacated. That was the first step to make a COVID-19 center. 800 beds, 100 ICU beds, 700 general ward beds, 64 private rooms, and everything was to be converted, because everything whatsoever was to happen was regarding COVID-19. As it was a psychiatric emergency, who will work? There was an acute problem in my medical college also, where 90% of the doctors were not available on the phone, where 100% of the ward boy sweeper and the staff was not available to come to, and 90% of the nursing staff within a span of 6 hours had left to their home to safeguard their own mother, father, their parents. So first to start was that a motivational speech for the staff by itself of the Chirayu Hospital to stay and work for COVID-19. देखिए ये सब बात डॉक्टर्स को मालूम है कि ओवर ए पीरियड ऑफ ईयर्स पेंडेमिक बार बार नहीं आता. पेंडेमिक कम्स वंस इन से 100 years. The last pandemic influence was influenza and 1800 and 1920. तो एक फीलिंग तो बिल्कुल पक्की थी मेडिकल कॉलेज में कि इस 25 साल के अंदर सोसाइटी से इतना पैसा लिया है तभी मेडिकल कॉलेज बना है. उन्हीं के ट्रीटमेंट के पैसे से ही ये अस्पताल बना है. तो ये पहली बार सोसाइटी को गिव बैक करने का मौका था कि अगर इस समय भाग जाओगे तो यू विल हैव अ स्लीपलेस नाइट, द डॉक्टर्स विल हैव अ स्लीपलेस नाइट, द नर्सेस विल हैव अ स्लीपलेस नाइट, क्योंकि सोसाइटी की ज़रूरत के समय आप उनको सड़कों पे मरने के लिए छोड़ नहीं सकते थे. एंड दैट प्लेड अ रोल. सम एडिशनल money was to be given, double salary to the people, plus say some small amount of motivation, and the center started with about 5-10 doctors, 5-10 nurses and 5-10 ward boys and sweepers. The team started. WHO inspected the team without an HR, that whether we have an ICU, whether we have got ventilators, whether we have got central oxygen supply, whether we have got central suction, whether we have got multiple oxygen cylinders to transport with, whether we have got liquid tanks, whether we have got the other facilities like infusion pumps, like high oxygen concentration machines, maybe defibrillators, maybe all other equipment which was checked by WHO. Important challenge was not only doctors. Important challenge was how do we manage the waste, because at that point of time liquid waste and solid waste both were a challenge how to dispose them of. The liquid waste of the medical college could not have been given to the lake of Bhopal, and the solid waste could not have been thrown out. So proper functioning of STPs and ETPs with zero discharge was a big challenge at that moment of time when the lesser number of staff was working. You require ward boys and sweepers to work for waste aggregations, waste segregation, waste management. People were talking about कि आपके कॉरिडोर के अंदर कचरा पड़ा हुआ है, लेकिन इम्पोर्टेंट इशू ये नहीं था. इम्पोर्टेंट इशू था जब 400 पेशेंट की सांस फूल रही थी. They were on bed and stool and urine was to be collected at bed, and the waiting period for collection of stool from 200 male and female patients should not have been more than 5 or 10 minutes, because it is very disturbing that the सांस फूल रही है patient की और patient stool में पड़ा है. So that was a big challenge where you require, where the importance of the lower staff to run an hospital comes, because that was the job which could not have been done by any doctors or by any nurses. So सफाई उस समय कॉरिडोर की सफाई इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं थी, पेशेंट के बेड की सफाई इम्पोर्टेंट थी, because आप उनको बाथरूम तक भेज नहीं सकते थे. There was not at all of the capacity of them to go to toilet, come back on their own without oxygen. These were the challenges. Then we had a separate laundry to function, then we had oxygen tanks, the oxygen lines to function, then we require the light system. We wanted generators to be full. We wanted around 5,000 liters of diesel stored with us, because because lights were not in control of any government also to go. And without a light, without the generator system functional, without being arrangement of diesel, without being arrangement of UPS into ICUs, the COVID-19 centers could not have worked. Another challenge, which was a big challenge, was the supply of PPE kits, supply of drugs, supply of medicine. Because for few patients, like 100, 200 patients, for 300 patients, the arrangement could have been made. But when you have to make arrangement for thousands of patients, and when the trucks are not functioning, when the trains are not functioning, when the manufacturing industries have a marginal production, it was a big challenge to arrange even a small amount of paracetamol for us. We needed drivers to pick up the serious patients from the wards, from the different smaller hospitals, from their homes. And believe me, it was a big challenge again to arrange ambulances and function and pick up these patients, separate out. And not only that these patients were admitted, now they are discharged. The family cannot come and pick them up. How do they go to their homes back? So we needed all those arrangements of not only picking up from them, but to leave them till their home was again a big challenge. One person generally happens to have 2 liters of water every day. At COVID times, it was a hydration therapy when you have to give at least 3 to 4 liters of water, and persons with diarrhea, 5 to 6 liters of water. They were not in a situation to take water from water coolers. There were no people to supply water to them onto their beds. So it was the only packaged drinking water which could have been supplied. And packaged drinking water manufacturing industries were closed. So we could arrange packaged drinking water from Gujarat and Nagpur to serve our patients in Bhopal. It was that everything, every small thing you talk about was a challenge for first 6 months. Arranging meals and that to vegetables was again a big challenge. A small egg, if you want to give 2 eggs a day to a patient, it was again a very difficult task with the help of on each and every step of arranging water, egg, vegetable, it was the government which was behind us. Believe me, it could not have been managed because at each and every small step, if the government would have not functioned, special permission for the trucks, special permission for the drivers, special permission. We picked up medicine and PP kits from Madras, Tamil Nadu. We picked up from Bombay. We picked up from Pune, but only with the help of special permissions all over the country. This was again a big problem. Suppose the patient dies. Now if the patient dies, you need to make a packet out of them. And making a packet means you have to pick up the body and keep it on the floor or keep it on the table. So you require 4 to 6 persons to pick up the body. You require a big plastic piece to cover them and wrap them. And then again you have to put that body into a bag. And then bag has to be taken to mortuary. And then the mortuary, it has to be labeled and then it has to be given to the Nagar Nigam, where one of the attendant would have come place. It was a very, very big challenge to arrange a packet every day, maybe sometimes 10, maybe sometimes 30. That was again a very big challenge. I'm not talking about all the COVID-19 treatment where what treatment, the steroid, the oxygen therapy, the hydration therapy, or remdesivir or steroids or antibiotic or antifungal, or because over a period of last 2 years, every doctor knows now that what treatment is required into COVID-19 and what was being done. So enough literature and enough working has been done by all the doctors. So I'm not trying to talk about COVID-19 treatment protocols where hypoxia, where hyponatremia, where hypernatremia or inflammatory disorder, coronary artery disease, or where fungal infections were too common or bacterial infections were too common, or atherosclerotic patches was taking gangrenes to the existing patches. I'm not talking about all these details because it is now over a period of 2 years that every doctor has a personal experience of treating patients, because later on probably all hospitals and probably all doctors of Bhopal formed a group, and then we all could have managed COVID-19 successfully and say alvida to COVID-19. Once there was again a quarantine facilities also, which were, the hostels were empty, the nursing staff hostels were empty, the professor staff were empty, so it was easier for us to do a quarantine of thousands of persons. So we ran a fever clinic, and we had some oxygen cylinders in the waiting area. There were emergency ward, there were emergency ICU, the triage, we had a ventilators, and on grounds we had oxygen support. There has to be a separate entry and exit gate for the patients, for healthcare workers, separate lift for patients, for COVID waste, for refreshment, and so it was a very difficult task in a single hospital to maintain that line that from here you have to do this, from here you have to do this. Again, a very big challenge was to make all the labs functional for 24 hours. Maybe by different ICUs for giving the different facilities at that time. Initially, to start with, we started with around 10 doctors and around 10 nurses, but gradually over a period of time, we had hundreds. Making dialysis machine at the ICU level, not at the dialysis rooms. So making this arrangement was again a big task, because the RO has to be made, the connectivity on each and every bed of dialysis, ICU has to be done, and acute renal failure in COVID-19 was one of the commonest presentation on acute on chronic renal failure. And let me tell you the truth also today, majority of the renal failures were not saved. Majority of the chronic renal failures were not saved. So again, there was oxygen therapy in different forms of cannulas and different machines. Then on beds, there was physical distancing, proper ventilation, the various arrangements for psychiatric therapy. It was a music therapy, some indoor games, some physiotherapy equipments, and the everyday motivation, everyday touching to the patient by heart, every day talking to them for a minute, every day standing by them onto their side and saying that tiger जिंदा है, वापस आएगा अपने घर, भेजो मैसेज, क्योंकि उसके बिना ठीक कैसे होंगे. And that was a real emergency in which they wanted a support from the doctors to stand by their side. They wanted nurses to stand by their side. We tried our best to give them such kind of treatment. We participated into the solidarity trial where injection remdesivir use on COVID-19 patients was selected. My hospital was one of them. 62 patients all over India were selected, out of which 51 patients from Chirayu Medical College were selected. And we did a trial onto this with a very positive response on moderate pneumonia. Moderate COVID pneumonia, it gave an excellent response. In fact, into mild pneumonias, they gave a very, very excellent response. Actually, the concept of COVID-19 में सबसे बड़ी emergency जो confuse कर गई एक common society को, वो ये थी कि लोगों को ये लगा कि सांस फूलेगी, जब तकलीफ होगी तो हम अस्पताल जाएंगे. That this single line killed many people because जब अपन बिस्तर पे सोते हैं तो हमारा रेस्पिरेटरी रेट 10 से 12 पर मिनट होता है. जब हम बैठते हैं तो 13-14 होता है. जब हम बात करते हैं, बोलते हैं या जरा सा चलते हैं तो 14 से 16 होता है. जब हम थोड़ा वॉक करते हैं 1 किलोमीटर तो 16 से 18 होता है, और जब हम वॉकिंग रेसिंग करते हैं तो जाके जब 2 किलोमीटर चलते हैं तब वो 24 से 25 क्रॉस होता है, 28 से 30, एंड दैट इज द फर्स्ट टाइम व्हेन यू से दैट डिस्निया हो रहा है, मेरी सांस फूल रही है ना। तो जब लोगों ने अस्पताल पहुंचे, जब उनकी सांस फूल रही थी, तो 28 से 30 का रेस्पिरेटरी रेट पे उन्होंने अस्पतालों को अप्रोच किया। दैट minimal physiological process of respiration was missed by common society, and at the time when they reached for dyspnea into the hospital, they were already very late. So communication, so information, spread कैसे करें इस बात को, that was a big challenge, कि ये सोसाइटी तक ये कैसे पहुंचाएं कि बिना सांस फूले अस्पताल पहुंचना है। That took a long time, and by that time we had to face the drama of increased mortality. अब आगे कर सकते कि खत्म करना है 10-15 मिनट। This was the COVID-19 H1 formula where hypoxia, hydration, hyperpyrexia, hypercalcemia and hyperinflammatory disorder with COVID-19 H19 formula was made, which was approved by the AIMS, which was approved by Madhya Pradesh state, and by which this formula was there to treat COVID-19 patients and to treat the complications of COVID-19 patients. आगे करें। One of the most common infection was fungal infection, white fungus. It was seen from day one, reported later after 6 months. But let me tell you, it was one of the most difficult tasks. That dyspnea was because of the hyperinflammatory response into the lung, or it was associated with fungal septicemia. This has to be proved over a period of time, because in blood cultures of majority of the dyspneic patients having moderate to severe pneumonia, we could pick up majority of the patients with fungal cultures, but that study further requires. Community screening was done, where separation of the family was done. Large number of community screening for the whole Bhopal, Mangalwara and Jahangirabad. The whole areas were screened out, and thousands of people were, alternate day houses were done vacant. It was the great effort of the police personnel of the Bhopal, but these were all bigger challenges during the initial times of the COVID. आगे करें। Training for all 52 districts of the hospital were done, because there was nobody to treat to start with. So hands-on training for all 52 districts of doctors, nurses, ward boys, sweepers were brought in a group from each and every district, where the classes used to take place, and where hands-on to the COVID-19 patients was there. Then comes the lab, and after this there was the COVID vaccination which came up. It was COVID-19 dedicated centers were promoted by the government, made by the government, funded by the government, and let me tell you, Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi ji declared these health professionals as a military persons. उन्होंने declare किया, उन्होंने एक हेलीकॉप्टर भेजा, लोगों के अस्पतालों के ऊपर, एम्स के ऊपर यहाँ पर फूल डाले, और ये बताने के लिए कि हेल्थ वर्कर्स प्लीज कम अप एंड प्लीज रिस्पेक्ट दिस, that yes, after this happening, there were many doctors rushing, many staff rushing to us कि we want to work, because an ultimate kind of image of the health professional was made. COVID patient discharge, so we could discharge around 28,000 patients from our hospital. We could treat around 56,000 of fever clinic patients. The recovery rate was around 97.8%. Our mortality was around 2.1 to 2.2% of COVID positive and non-COVID positive both, because they were also CT scan positive patients were not taken into the criteria. There were small younger children, 216-year female was discharged. आगे बढ़े। Vaccination drive came, and vaccination was again provided by the central ministry to each and every smallest possible individual, whether staying at district or whether staying at Dola, and it was all free of charge. Then further we developed a skill lab to go to each and every person for CPR and other things. But further challenges will remain once that जज्बा चाहिए था उसका इलाज करने का, कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए था. कोविड-19 जैसी बीमारी वापस ना आए, ये दुआ चाहिए भगवान से. पेंडेमिक वापस ना आए, ये दुआ चाहिए. लेकिन यस, ऑल दोज हेल्थ वर्कर्स जिनने काम किया, मैं सलाम करता हूँ उनको. वो अपने बच्चों को अपनी ताकत से बोल पाएंगे कि मेरी उम्र के अंदर जब पेंडेमिक आया था तो मैं भागा नहीं था, मैं मरीजों के साथ खड़ा था. तेरी उम्र के अंदर भी जिंदगी में कभी ऐसा हो तो भागना मत, तेरा बाप भी खड़ा था. थैंक यू, थैंक यू.
Thank you for adding to our information, especially about the liquid waste and solid waste that we hadn't heard up till now. I just want to ask Dr. Goenka कि आपको सरकार ने भी ऐसा प्रेजेंटेशन करवाया है कि कहीं ऐसा? तो you must thank Dr. Varshney for it. इसके लिए हमको काफ़ी क्रिटिसाइज किया गया है कि आप लोग कोविड को छोड़ ही नहीं रहे हैं, अफसरों ने क्रिटिसाइज किया.
Let me tell you, many topics are left. Many topics are left. COVID-19 till today has not come into books. It is one of the pandemics जो रिपोर्ट होना चाहिए. कोविड-19 में फंगल सेप्टिसीमिया है कि ये इन्फ्लेमेटरी डिसऑर्डर है, आज तक प्रूव नहीं हुआ. HIV जब पॉजिटिव आया था तो उसके 15 साल बाद 1996 के अंदर आपने कहा था कि कार्सिनोमा स्टमक हो गया, कार्सिनोमा कोलोन हो गया. अभी कोविड-19 को 3 साल हुए. Whether it will finally convert into cancer lungs or any other disease, nobody in this world knows. So these are the facts which are open, because in fibrosis there is a definite scarring of the lungs, and any fibrosis anywhere in the body. So there are hundreds of topics left. But let me tell you, I am just a routine professional. I am not a research scholar. Somebody who wants to have data from me, who really wants to do a research work, I have got 28,000 CT scans with me. I have got 1,200 patients of white lung syndrome where 100% lungs are involved, out of which 900 patients are roaming about in this country. They are well saved after 3 months of time. There are azygous low white lung pneumonia with me, more than 100. Somebody wants to do study. I have got glycosylated increased diabetic status of common persons, and what are the follow-up? I have got data. Somebody wants to come, do research, take thousands of reports. I have got more than lakhs of biochemistry reports for each and every. And that whole data is with Dr. Manish Singh here, and the whole data is with Dr. Nitin Khanna, the radiology lab. But somebody who wants to do further research work, please take a data from me, do it, because myself, now at the age of 61, is not at all in a mood to go for any kind of further research. And I'm not a fit person also for writing. I have a habit of oral diarrhea, not a writing.
Anyway, thank you for this. This is what now COVID is all about. We cannot replace government, but at least we can try and substitute. We cannot have entire what government can do, but we'll try a little bit. इसके बाद now we'll break for high tea a bit.
So, Dr. Ajay Goenka, seeing the exploding population and urbanization of the periphery of Bhopal, what would you suggest to add on to Sir's insight for planning and according to the new government regulations and gazettes? Where should a new doctor plan his hospital? How much money he should borrow from a bank or auction himself off for it?
I like to talk little bigger than Bhopal, little bigger than the state. What is actually happening in this country? I like to brief in 5 minutes. First of all, Health initially was the subject of society. But let me tell you now, health is a political subject today. Health has been totally grabbed by politicians all over the country. So let us start with how this has happened. And this has happened, let me tell you the truth what has happened. There were limited number of seats and limited number of medical colleges in the country, whether government or private. It took a large amount of money to spend to make a medical college. It took a large number of patients to make a medical college. In last few years, the scenario has changed. The existing medical colleges has been made dull. The newer medical college at the level of district has been started at all over India. So the number of medical undergraduate seats have increased tremendously. The postgraduate seats are now matching with the undergraduate seats. Okay? The super specialization is as it is above the age of 28. The seats have increased, but there are hardly people who want to join for the super specialization. Now, next is that there are different schemes running into this country. CGHS is one scheme which is running free of cost, payable at a very minimal rate. ECHS is running at a very minimal payable rate. RBSK is running in different names in all the portions of the states in different names. In different parties have started their different schemes for the treatment of patients at a very minimal rate. They say that it is meant only for the BPL numbers. A very good saying that it is meant only for BPL numbers. But each and every district has more than 60% population of BPL. So these schemes are covering more than 60% original BPL and few more persons adding on to this. It makes an average of 70 to 72% of the patients having these larger schemes as Ayushman known as India. Delhi there is different scheme, Rajasthan there is different scheme, Haryana there is, Madras there is different schemes. So at one side there is CGHS, ECHS, there is RBSK, there is Ayushman Yojana and multiple schemes. On the top of it, in Madhya Pradesh, we have Bal Hriday Yojana, we have Bal Shravan Yojana. On the country, we have tuberculosis eradication program of the country where anti-tubercular drugs are given free. We have HIV ART clinic where all HIV patients from detection, diagnosis, treatment and ultimate complication, it is given free of charge. Cataract surgery with blindness control program, the major work of ophthalmologists, and the Washiagar, marasmus and protein malnutrition patients whom we all used to treat, hardly you can now find with the protein supplementation and hardly a child getting a protein malnutrition patient with institutional deliveries. That the delivery cannot happen at a VA. With institutional deliveries, they have been transported to smaller section of hospitals. From that smaller section of hospital, the ambulance must to carry to district hospitals, nowhere in the private hospital. So the lady population, the delivery population, 30% has already been shifted into the government. Where there is a commission to Anganwadi, where there is a commission to Asha worker, where there is a commission to...
And also to the account of the patient.
Now we come, what is left with the private patient? What is left? The spine clinic takes away all your kata-kata hold. Polio clinic takes away all your bony injuries. Trauma program is happening where ambulances are fixed. They have to 100% reach to to the government hospitals. They cannot be transported to private hospitals by any means unless you pay heavy commissions and heavy, things or adultering the scheme. On the top of it, there are rich people who do not want to have treatment in India. There are again a middle class and the rich people working for different companies, having that insurance card with them. Increasing number of doctor population, increasing number of postgraduate doctors with minimal quality. With minimal quality, because hardly these medical colleges have got teachers. The teachers are getting transported. जैसे private medical college में हम जिंदगी चोरी करते थे कि तेरा डॉक्टर दे दे भाई, हम दिखा देते तेरे को वापस दे देंगे. सरकारी अस्पताल, Jabalpur people should transport to this and with the minimal quality. The quality is deteriorating. On the contrary, जो हमारे powerful doctors हैं, intellectual doctors हैं, जो वो सब हम एक मशीन बन रहे हैं फॉरेन में सप्लाई के. हमारा कोई भी इंटेलेक्चुअल डॉक्टर जो अपकमिंग डॉक्टर है, आप रोज उनके फॉर्म साइन करते हो कि वो कहीं स्पॉन्सरशिप ले रहा है, कहीं कुछ ले रहा है. Similar thing has happened. Let me tell you in this. Number of dental colleges open, number of dental colleges open. It turned out to be this. Today, dental doctors are not getting neither a space for private practice, neither a space for them in the government sector. They are on roads. After 5 years, ill-skilled or minimally skilled postgraduate doctors will be flooded because in government or private sector, the clinical material, the larger number, like in one college it is 35 anesthesias. How actually you can justify these 35 things? So this is overall, so what should be the aim where I want to focus is, if we all doctors who are senior, who have got good practices, who have got good money, should try to focus on to the quality education and quality treatment, not talking about volumes, but let us talk of how can we reach to quality education where people can really stand on their own later to struggle this. Overall, my message is that we are leading towards England. It is the nationalization of health. It is probably the nationalization of health, not saying the word nationalization, but indirectly with cashless treatment with minimal money. Cashless treatment, 60% of the population cashless with minimal money. And later 10% with CGHS, ECHS with minimal money. Again with the minimal money. So what I mean to say, it's a very, very big compromise going on into these health sectors. And let me tell you, these electoral fights for giving free treatment to our poor people will not end in this country, because it's a gross benefit to the poor society. It is an ultimate change into their lives. It is an ultimate change. मतलब वो गरीब आदमी जो चिराई मेडिकल कॉलेज के ग्रेनाइट पे कभी खड़े होने की तो सोचो, उस गली से निकलता था तो उस तरफ देखता नहीं था, वो आज आराम से लिपस्टिक लगा के घुसता है या घुसती है, आराम से अपना कार्ड दिखाती है, अपना हक बताती है कि मेरा 5 लाख रुपए का ट्रीटमेंट का कार्ड है मेरे पास, और वो पूरा ट्रीटमेंट लेके जाती है. So this right has been given to the poor people, where they are benefited to an extreme amount. Because this is a private forum where we are talking of finances, we are talking of money, we are talking of all this, my interest was to explore and to tell you what is happening into this country. I have nothing to say with any of the government to do about it. I have nothing to say anything against any scheme. Let me tell you this. What is the fact today? How do doctors fight with this struggle? At the same time, we have got 10% increasing population. That is the only good sign. 142 crore today we have, 156 crore is the next year. And let me tell you, 175 crores in next 3.5 years with the increasing population. So, I don't know where the fight will be with the increasing population. The doctors will get absorbed and will have their important bread and butters, or there will be again a fight of, like dentistry, to have a position, to have seat, to have a private practice, or to find out their own space for their bread and butter. I am not an economist onto this. I cannot speak onto this. I have opened the common treatment points. There are senior persons to talk about who will understand better than me. I have just opened and talked. As far as Bhopal is concerned, we are rich. We are rich with government hospital beds. We are much rich. 1,200 to 1,500 AIMS bed we have. We have got 1,400 Hamidi Hospital beds. We have got 200 beds at Kamala Nehru, 200 beds at JP Hospital. We have got 300 beds at Gasrat, 300 beds at BMHRC. We have got 50 to 100 beds at Beraga. And we have got many more clinics along with a BHL, a corporate hospital, 300 beds. So the government hospital beds are much more than any private sector. So the truth is this.
Thank you.
Huh?
Wonderful insight, very honest, very fearless, Dr. Ajay. Dr. Pankaj, I want to ask you is NABH accreditation necessary for private and government hospitals? And do we all really comply with the infrastructure, staffs and audit as according to NABH?
NABH is a good thing. It is basically process. You tend to change your system and you are safe with the system. Whether it is necessary, it is a very difficult question. If you are not following system, then it is necessary. And if you are following the system, then it is not necessary. Basically, we try to do shortcuts in everywhere. So in
because
NABH,
according to the norms, we need staff extra. We need to
staff
pay them. We have a lot of paperwork.
yes.
And
That's
we
what I'm
need to
saying.
keep our money for the fees.
Yes.
So what would you say? Would you advise that there should be NABH accreditation for all government units, small hospitals, medium and large?
As far as private hospital concerned, if person is doing NABH accreditation, it is good for him. Because basically if you have something illegal thing is coming up, then you are safe because your paperwork is complete. Government hospital should also go for NABH, where system is not set like this, like a NABH processing is not fully. In those conditions, I think government should also go for NABH.
Thank you. Sunil sir, I would like to ask you two questions. One is, what about the parking facilities in the new planning and implementation according to the new gazette?
Well, the new gazette I am not too sure about in Bhopal. Excuse from commenting on the gazette as such. But definitely, parking definitely remains a challenge which hospitals seldom plan. That's something which...
Do you employ GPs or family doctors, family medicine physicians?
Yes, we do. We do.
Do your services extend to neuro rehabilitation, geriatrics or hospices?
We have started geriatrics. The neuro rehab will be something which we are looking at very seriously. Definitely.
And do you extend your services only to the hospital infrastructure, or you extend it by ambulances or camps to the periphery?
We are conducting camps, there's no doubt. Throughout Madhya Pradesh, we are conducting camps.
Okay.
Our ambulance is also available for people to utilize for not only coming to our hospital, but also can be if somebody wants to go to some other hospital too.
Okay. So a government hospital or a private hospital or a private public partnership hospital helps, Dr. Goenka? Would you like to be involved in a public-private enterprise or only be a private medical college and hospital?
Opening a health facility by public hospital, by public-private hospital, by simple private hospital is a big challenge. It's a big challenge. It is not a small challenge. You are talking of people who have been old, 30 years old, who have set up their own setups and doing well. You talk of a new person who is coming into the market. It's a struggle. And it will be a further struggle 3, 4, 5 years later. It will not be an easy job. And with quality you have to do. The population left is 20%. Amongst that you have to give a quality treatment and put yourself on the top of it. Then only people. Abhi the OPDs are left by the government setups. That OPDs are charged by the people. So consultation is coming to the people. But let me tell you truthfully, once the consultation, OPD consultation is taken to these schemes, where you will be getting 100 rupees on consultation, maybe 200 rupees on consultation if they are fixed. Where do doctors stand? It's I'm not making afraid anybody, but I am at the same time warned that it's a fact. It is not that open a game जो 25 साल पहले था कि अस्पताल खोला, भर गया, चलने लगा, कुछ क्वालिटी हुई, कुछ क्वालिटी नहीं हुई. आज पेशेंट भी होशियार है, सिस्टम भी होशियार है, सरकारें भी होशियार है. NABH है आपके पास में एक्रीडिटेशन के लिए, NABL होकर लैब्स में एक्रीडिटेशन के लिए, मॉलिकुलर लैब्स में आज के रोज ICMR एक्रीडिटेशन है, आपका RT-PCR में एक्रीडिटेशन है, ट्यूबरकुलोसिस के अंदर BSL लैब्स हैं, BSL-2 लैब्स हैं. There is a lot of fight today. You cannot tell simply that कुछ भी चल रहा है. मतलब medical the things are growing. And it is the pace is also maintained by the government. It is not only that the private sector is making a pace. District hospitals, where every district hospital has a CT scan which is free of charge for people. Every district hospital has a complete pathology lab which is free of charge for all the patients for investigation. So it's a tough struggle. It is not that easy कि किसी ने कहा कि मैं ज़मीन खोलूँगा private अस्पताल.
Dr. Narendra, would you like to give some input?
It is a tough battle. It is a mildly tough battle. This is what my impression is, but the house is open. Somebody can give
Dr.
their own.
Narendra, would you like to give a preview or some input from the IMA proceeding?
Actually, I am from IMA and IMA works for the doctors after the hospital. So, thereby they work for the society. मेरा मानना ये है कि डॉक्टर्स जो है वो दे आर अंडरपेड सर्विंग डॉक्टर्स.
Sir, say it loudly so that we'll all carry
Doctors
over.
are underpaid. At MBBS they are getting 50,000 a month, which is much less as compared to their जो उन्होंने मेहनत की है, जितनी तपस्या की है, जितना पैसा लगाया उसके मुकाबले बहुत कम. ये सब पढ़ना चाहिए, तभी अच्छे डॉक्टर आगे आएंगे. और मैं इसके अलावा नहीं जानता.
Ranveer, seeing all the discussion that has been done, I think your talk should be very, very short. Let us have some inputs from you.
Ayushman happens to be one of the new scheme of the country. It has, from the society point of view, it is one of the finest scheme of the world, where a poor person has a right to be treated. गरीबों को वो हक दिया गया जो जिंदगी में सोचा नहीं जा सकता. ऐसा एक सोसाइटी का बेनिफिट स्कीम है आयुष्मान. From larger hospital point of view, larger hospital and teaching medical colleges, may be government or private, Ayushman is a boon for them. Whether it is a government medical college, autonomous, or whether it is a private medical college, large number of beds remaining unfilled, or even if they are filled, it was a tax on to the private medical college or to the government medical college, autonomous, wherein at the same time with those patients they are being paid, and the economy of any autonomous medical college or a private medical college has changed post-COVID. As far as the scheme, to consider overall, looking to the small hospitals, looking to the medium-sized hospital, private hospital, and larger corporate hospital. By and large, one thing I can say that this scheme is based on a large volume, not on a small volume. This scheme is meant for those hospitals who has large number of beds, not for the small number of beds. Because in case if you have 30 beds and if 15 are occupied by the Ayushman beds, you will never be able to meet out the genuine expenditure of your small nursing home. By and large, a new scheme with a positive attitude the government has come up, but not getting right professionals or right third-party people to explain this scheme and put it into proper business model. There are lots of lapses and words which are written are wrong. Like fraud. Fraud is a very, very bad word written into this literature which can be corrected. The third party insurances, what they are covering and taking care of the bills or taking care of the claims is not monitored by proper doctors. The doctors who are working for Ayushman require much more improvement. The scheme overall requires more professional into the scheme, where there are very smaller number of doctors and other staff working for such a larger scheme. 2,000 crore rupees scheme for Madhya Pradesh, very few people are working over there to monitor or to take care. More training is required for the professionals, for the hospitals, which is lacking. More and more training. More and more documentation is required by the smaller or larger hospital, in which we all are lacking. We require more and more documenters to properly document, because ultimately this scheme is one of the finest scheme and will be required by smaller and larger hospitals for future treatment of the society. It will help the society, and the scheme which is going to help the society will never get omitted from this country. So let us try to become part and parcel of this scheme in all the ways. Give the correction notes, like more and more staff to be kept, more and more bills to be understood, more and more training to be asked from them for our hospital in Ayushman. We get more expert for documentation as far as billing is concerned. The billing is a very, very different formula. They are working by artificial intelligence. And that AI works and picks up so many things which are sometimes good and sometimes negative. Like similar faces they pick up and cancel the bill. For that is they think that this is a fraud. But when dialysis patients are regularly coming again and again, few surgical patients are coming, step surgeries are again. But that is a fallacy which can be also corrected. The payment modules, the scheme was never thought of this amount of money to be required. Country requires more and more budget into the scheme for the proper payments to be done. So we from this forum need to have a little more. There are few things which are hidden, like there is CPT reject, why it is happening, why the document less is happening. Another thing is Naku Saku. Naku Saku also happens where AI picks up the cases. There the auditor was required. Since last few years there was no auditor. So those bills also got minus. Then for small tick reasons, because it's a computer program, a small good reason like if you have not given a biopsy report, truly readable, the bill gets cancelled. So it's one of the finest scheme for improvement. There is a large scope of improvement, but with a very, very positive scheme for one and all, and improvement is required. The scheme should be promoted by small or larger hospitals. It's an ultimate change of the poor man of this